guys? Hope you guys are having a good day thus far. Just got in the office, got some coffee brewed, got my Folgers ready to go, and we're about to kick things off for the day. So I wanted to make a quick video. Anybody in the quarterback space knows the two most common asked questions by athletes of any age, doesn't matter, for quarterbacks or for quarterback coaches or whatever, is number one, how do I get a stronger arm? And number two, how do I get a better deep ball? I do want to address some of those. Now, I don't want to spend all my time on this channel, obviously, just addressing those two things, but I do want to address them because they are valid questions, and they're things we want answers to. And a lot of the times, the answer is not usually what you think, right? Like, so for example, a lot of guys think, okay, I want a stronger arm. How do I do that? I lift weights. All right, I bench press. Well, actually, I disagree with that. There's a lot of research, and I personally believe that quarterbacks should do minimal bench pressing, and that the higher your bench press is, what happens is that works out your chest, right? Your pectoral muscles, right? That means that as your muscles grow, they get tighter, right? Bigger, tighter, all that good stuff. So what actually happens is, as you get bigger, the elasticity throughout your shoulder, throughout your chest, all that good stuff, actually decreases. And elasticity, not necessarily muscle, is what kind of creates arm strength, right? And there's also, for example, it doesn't have anything to do actually with your arm, or at least very little to do with your arm. Most of it is with your lower body and a number of other factors. So bench press, I'm not a huge fan of for quarterbacks, and I'll make a video here at some point telling you why quarterbacks should not bench press, or if they do, how they should do it. But also, on the flip side, I want your squat to be in the top 10 of your team, right? I mean, I understand the big boys up front are going to have, bigger squat numbers than you, but I want us to be up there with the squat numbers, because that is where arm strength is actually built. And that's something that kind of brings me to another point. The term arm strength is kind of a myth. Now, there are certainly guys who God made them with more arm strength than other guys. Pure, just can throw the ball further without trying. And that it is what it is. But in terms of increasing arm strength, increasing velocity, increasing all these different things, it actually has very little to do with your arm, right? So obviously, as you get older, as you mature, you're going to get a quote-unquote stronger arm. But your arm itself kind of has a ceiling, and it's really not that high. Even if you're one of these guys that throws pretty far, if you're just using your arm to do that, you're probably not really even scratching the surface. And on the flip side, if you're a guy who doesn't throw it that far, there's probably some things outside of your arm that you could be doing to help you get there, to have a quote-unquote stronger arm, which again really doesn't have anything to do with your arm. And there are factors that go into that with the arm. Yeah, don't get me wrong, and we'll talk about those. But I want to talk today about one of the factors that goes into quote-unquote arm strength, and I'm always going to use parentheses around that, quotation marks, because it's kind of a phrase I really don't like using, but for the sake of simplicity, I will use it. But it's kind of a myth, and it's kind of not a real thing. Arm strength, it should be called body strength or something like that, but maybe I'll invent a term, I don't know. But nevertheless, for creating more arm strength, it really doesn't have much to do with your arm. So today we're going to be talking about one of the factors that goes into creating more arm strength, or getting more out of your arm, and it doesn't have anything to do with your arm. All right, and what it has to do with is your breathing. All right, so your breathing, if you kind of going back to the weightlifting analogies, a lot of the times, when you're squatting or when you're bench pressing or whatever, you're right here and you're on your last rep and you're just trying to push. And what does the coach always say? Breathe, 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 right? Breathe through, push it up. What happens is, as you inhale, your diaphragm is kind of becoming a balloon of sorts, all right? So imagine as you're a little kid, you've got a balloon, and you fill up the balloon with air, helium, whatever, and you've just got the end pinched real quick, and you let it go, and the balloon goes everywhere and just shoots off, right? So I want the kind of that similar effect when we throw the ball. So if you're not breathing correctly, or not breathing at all during the course of the throw in terms of actually taking progressive active breaths, then you're not filling up your diaphragm, which means you're not inflating your chest, which means you're not actually getting everything into your throat that you should from your chest. All right, so kind of how do you do that? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's still something worth noting. So as you go through what we call the loading phase, right, your hands separate, you take that first step forward, you're starting to come back here with the ball. That's the point where we should be inhaling. All right, big breath. And this is something that takes a little bit of practice. Some guys do it naturally. Some guys, it kind of takes a little bit of practice to do this, because if you're concentrating so much on one thing, again, going back to the bench max analogy, you're focusing on getting that bar up, and you kind of forget the necessity of life, which is breathing, right? And that happens in, not just your breathing and everything. Once we're focusing on one thing, we tend to neglect other things, not because we're lazy, but just simply because we're putting so much focus on this one thing. You've got to be able to multitask as a quarterback. In fact, the entire premise of being a quarterback is multitasking, right? You've got to catch the snap, then you've got to read the defense, you got to see where your dudes are going, you've got to do, make a good throw, do all these things, all while guys are trying to kill you, right? So I mean, the very essence of the quarterback position is the ability to multitask at a very high level, which as dudes we're not very good at, but nevertheless, for some reason on a sports field, we tend to be better at that than we are at home. Just ask my wife. But anyway, so you're breathing, all right? So your breathing is very important. So as you're going through your loading phase, your hands are going across right here, big breath, and then now as you're going through your acceleration phase, your elbow is coming forward, you're exhaling as you go through that release, and then snapping your wrist and doing all that good jazz, all right? You're breathing. It's not going to add 30 yards, okay? So this isn't some kind of snake oil where, hey, do this, and all of a sudden you go from throwing 40 yards to 80. It's not like that. But there might be 5 or 10 more yards, kind of in you that you're not getting to. And again, this could be for a number of reasons, but one of the quick ones that you can do is making sure that you're breathing and breathing correctly and fully when you're executing a throw. Any athletic feet, it's the other thing that I see very commonly for a lot of guys is sometimes they don't look like athletes when they throw the ball, right? Maybe they don't, sink the hips well or bend the knees or anything like that. They just kind of stand there. Imagine shooting a jump shot and not bending your knees to do it, right? It's not going to work out very well for you. So same thing here. Breathing is a part of life. It needs to be part of the throw. And if we're not doing that correctly, if we're not doing that well, then it's going to be something that, again, it's not going to change your life, okay? But you could be adding, 5, 7, maybe even 10 yards, depending on if you're getting everything else into it. You could add a couple extra yards to your arm strength, just by that alone. So as you go outside today, go throw the ball, I want you to really work on your breathing, all right? Just be conscious of it. Really pay attention to your breathing while you're throwing. Maybe isolate, kind of your throw to where you're already set up to throw, you're ready to go, and you're just right here. And just kind of doing something like that where you can really focus on your breathing. One of the things you'll find is a common theme throughout all these videos that I use a lot is low stress reps on the arm. All right, I'm very big on this. We do this a lot during the in-season, obviously where your reps are higher throughout the week because you've got practice, because you've got games. You don't need to come in here and throw in another 120 balls or whatever. What you need is to continue to work on the fundamentals and make sure that we're keeping up our fundamentals, because during the season, that's where a lot of these fundamentals start to get a little shaky because we're throwing the ball more, we've got more responsibilities, all this stuff, and sometimes our mechanics and our fundamentals kind of go by the wayside. And so what we'll do here is we'll grab like a towel. Right here, this is my favorite one, is the towel example. Sometimes they'll use a tennis ball, but I will say with a tennis ball, be careful. I see a lot of baseball players, if I give them a tennis ball, they tend to have kind of this baseball-like action with their wrist as they're coming through just automatically because it kind of is that same size as a baseball. So be careful with that. I recommend a towel, and we'll talk more about all that good stuff in another video. But as you've got your towel, you're right here. Maybe you're in front of a mirror. Again, I'm a huge fan of mirrors. They let you see what you're doing, all right? And that's a huge key. if you can't see what you're doing or not doing, then you don't know what you're not doing, right? You could be out on the field thinking that you're doing everything perfectly, and really the thing that you think you're doing well, you're doing incorrectly because you can't see it. And that's not your fault. You just can't see yourself throw, right? So during the in-season, during the off-season, you know, when you're really repping your mechanics, using a mirror and what I call dry reps with a towel, less stress on your arms so you can get more throws in without actually having the stress of throwing the ball every single time, are very, very crucial to making sure that your mechanics stay up to date and you're doing all the things that you need to do to be successful. So you can stand in front of a mirror right here and just simply, you know, something like that. Even go out on the field, then progress from using a towel to a real ball, all that good stuff. And again, just focusing on your breathing. If you focus on this, it's not going to change your life, no, but could be the difference between, you know, a pick and a touchdown on a deep throw where you just need a couple extra yards to make the difference. So anyway, hope this was helpful, guys. Leave a comment. What was this helpful? What else do you want to see from this channel? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We're excited to get on YouTube, to be doing this. I'm pumped. I think it's going to be fun. I hope this is going to be something that you guys get a ton out of and can add value to your game. If you want to see something specific, let me know. We've got a ton of videos kind of coming your way, so we're pumped. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one.